Hey 5N, it's Mr. Turton here. Today we're going to be looking at measuring reflex angles using a protractor, which is one of these tools right here. Okay, so first of all, let's explain what a reflex angle actually is. Well, a reflex angle is an angle which is greater than 180 degrees. As you can see here, a reflex angle is bigger than a straight angle, which is 180, but less than a full rotation, which is 360. Remembering the reflex angle is less than a full rotation is very important for this activity. So I'm going to write it up here. 360 degrees equals a full rotation, and a straight angle equals 180 exactly. So before we get into actually looking at how we can measure reflex angles, let's look at some of the important facts about angles which we need to know to do this. For starters, angles have endpoints which are called, in this example, P, Q and R. Those are just the points where the lines, also known as rays, end. Angles are often represented in mathematical writing by their endpoints. So one might say P, Q, R if they wanted to talk about the angles relating to here. So this angle here and this angle here. Angles often have an arrow going around where they are, which actually tells you which one you are measuring. For reflex angles, you will notice this arrow always goes around the long way. That's important because they're more than 180 degrees, so it always goes the long way. Next of all, we got to remember with angles, the point we are measuring, the vertex, is always the middle one. Okay. Now I think we are ready to look at one of the ways in which we can measure reflex angles. So like I said before, a reflex angle is less than a full rotation, but more than a straight angle. As a protractor only goes up to a straight angle, it means that we cannot simply just measure the angle using it. We have to do other stuff. Because if we look at this, if we try to measure this angle, it stops at 180. But we can tell it's bigger than 180, can't we? Yeah. So, next of all, I'm going to explain how we can actually find it using subtraction. Okay, so we already know that reflex angles are less than a full rotation. So let's look at what other angles we can measure using this protractor. Another angle we can measure is this one inside here. And if we take that and add it to this one, we will get 360 degrees because that's a full rotation. So in saying that, if we take this away from 360, so if we take the acute angle away from 360 degrees, we'll be left with this one, won't we? Alright, let's have a go at doing this using a protractor. First thing I'm going to do is line up my protractor so it's on a vertex. So it's on the middle Q vertex, which is the point from which I will be measuring. Next, I'm going to turn it so it runs along a ray. The ray I have chosen, or the line I have chosen, whichever terminology you prefer, is QR. So Q and R. Once we have it lined up, I'm then going to measure the number of degrees in this acute angle. As you can see, this protractor will tell us the number of degrees that are in it here. However, your protractors will not tell us. So let's have a look at how we can actually figure this number of degrees out. Okay, so as you notice, there's two lots of degrees going, one clockwise and one anti-clockwise. For this angle, we are going to use the anti-clockwise one. so the small one. A good way of remembering this is the base of your protractor should be on 0. So the angle of degrees you are measuring should start at 0. So let's go up to the other line. So now we have 65, because as you can see it's between the 60 and the 70 and it's halfway, so 65 degrees. But how do we measure this? How do we work out the angle? I'm glad you asked. So now we're going to remember we're taking the acute angle away from the 360, which will leave us with this angle here. So as we know, this acute angle is 65 degrees. So we'll write that down first, 65. And now let's subtract 360 and see what we get. Remember always to put the degrees in. Okay, 5 minus 0, we can't do that, so we're going to have to borrow 10 from here. So that makes that 50 and that 10. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 50 minus 60, oh, we can't do that either, so we'll have to borrow 10 more. So we'll make that 200 and we'll make that 150. So 150 minus 60 is 90. And 200 minus 0 is 200. So we have 295 degrees in this angle here. So P, Q, R equals 295 degrees. Alright, now let's try doing this using addition. Okay, so once again I've got my protractor, but this time I'm looking at here and seeing how a straight line can be used to measure my angles. So let's start by taking the protractor and we'll put it on a straight line. And then I'm going to use the line tool here to draw a dotted line out. Now I'm doing this to show that here we have a straight angle, so 180 degrees. And in addition to this straight angle, I'm going to add this angle here, which should equal the full length of the reflex angle. So let's have a look now. I'm going to place my protractor on the line, line it up again like I did before, and then from the 0, so the 0 is here, I'm going to measure to the R. So it's 115. Now let's have a look what 115 plus 180 equals. 180 plus 115. Okay, 5 plus 0 equals 5. Put the degrees in. 10 plus 80 equals 90. And 100 plus 100 equals 200. So once again, we have 295 as our answer. Alright, so now I'm going to show you one more example of each of them. Okay, so let's put the protractor onto the dot, onto the vertex, and along the ray, or line as it's sometimes called. We'll draw this out. When you're drawing, a good tip is you can always use your protractor, the bottom of it, to draw the straight line. Okay, so now we know this part in here is 180. This part here is 180. So let's try finding what the other part might be. Okay, this time I'm going to use the outside, so the clockwise going degrees. So let's have a quick look here. $180 plus 45, 46, 47, 48. So we have 48 for the middle bit. So 48 for this, 180 for this. Let's see what that equals. 180 degrees plus 48 degrees. Okay. 0 plus 8 equals 8. 40 plus 80 equals 120. So we'll put the 2 in the tens column and we'll carry the 1. And 200 plus 0 equals 200. So we are left with 228 as our angles for this. Alright. Now let's try it using the subtraction method. Okay, so first we have to once again figure out where we want to place it. I'm thinking about placing it along this line here. Okay, so now I've got it on the line. I then go from the 0 and I measure to the end. So what I have left with is 134 degrees. So now, quickly, I'm going to do this. 360 minus 134. Okay, so 60 minus 34 is 26, and 300 minus 100 is 200, so we are left with 226 degrees again. Okay, thank you for watching this video, and we will now proceed with other demonstrations.